Set in 19th century Iceland, in the heart of a brutal winter, our story follows a widow named Eva. She runs a small fish processing station, the only lifeline for a tiny coastal community. Before he died, her late husband left her the responsibility of keeping the place going. So Eva and the few loyal fishermen who remain choose to stay, because this work is not just tradition, it is the only way they can survive.
Snow on the hill and the fish living under the sea. Yeah! Oh, this long winter, my love is returned to me. Yeah!
If you don't like it, you know where the kitchen
It's a
is.
swap places. I bet Helga can row faster than you.
That night we meet Helga, the woman who cooks for everyone, and Ragnar, a skilled helmsman who knows these icy waters better than anyone. They all know that winters here drag on, and every year the same fear comes creeping in. Food stocks are running low, bait for their lines is almost gone, and there is no other village nearby to ask for help. With no real choice, they cook whatever leftover fish they still have and make it their dinner. For Eva, keeping everyone's spirits up is almost as hard as keeping them alive. It is not just the cold and the storms they are fighting. They also have to watch out for predators like polar bears. And on top of that, there is the sense of something unseen, something they cannot quite name.
Scarf.
In the middle of this unease, Helga shares a local horror tale, a dark folk story that instantly cuts through the noise and leaves the room in heavy, frightened silence.
But she didn't come back either. The handsome brother went to the door himself. At the back of his neck, he felt...
The next morning, as they are about to head out to fish using the last of their bait, they spot a foreign fishing vessel in the distance. The ship is trapped between the rocks, pulled into a swirling current, and then it sinks. For a moment, they think about going closer to help, but this is the same place where Eva's husband drowned, and the memory of that tragedy still haunts everyone.
The hell were they doing this far north?
And give them the help that they need. Save them from the perilous sea.
Anyone still alive out there will be freezing by the time we get them back to shore.
That is not our business. But it isn't! And if they had any sense worth a damn, they wouldn't have taken a ship that big so close to shore in the first place.
Overwhelmed by the trauma of that spot, Eva cancels the fishing trip as a way of honoring those who have just gone under. It was only the beginning. This is The Damned. Back at the cabin, Eva sits alone with her thoughts, replaying that decision in her mind. The following morning, she walks back down to the shore to check the coastline. There, half buried in the sand, she finds a wooden barrel still intact. She guesses it must have drifted from the wrecked ship and decides to haul it back. When she opens it, they discover that the barrel is packed with supplies, far more than they expected, enough food to keep them going much longer than they had hoped. Realizing this might not be the only barrel that washed ashore, Eva plans to comb the coastline and search for more. Ragnar, however, points out that with the tide already receded, it will not be very effective. Instead, he suggests a bolder plan. They should go out that night and head straight for the site where the ship went down. Night falls and they set off toward the wreck. They leave their main vessel anchored in a safer zone, and Eva continues the search in a smaller rowboat to reduce the risk of damage. After rowing a while, they reach the area and spot several crates floating on the water. While Ragnar hauls the cargo aboard, Eva scans the surroundings, making sure nothing else is lurking out there. That is when she sees them, several surviving crew members huddled on the rocks, waving and begging to be taken aboard. The problem is, their small boat can only hold so many people. If they try to take everyone, they risk capsizing and all of them dying together. Ragnar makes a brutal choice. He pulls away, out of reach of the desperate survivors who are now swimming toward the boat, trying to grab on. In the chaos, something in the dark water suddenly pulls Ragnar under. One moment he is there, the next he is gone, swallowed by the sea with no trace. Panic spreads. The tension rises even higher when one of the survivors manages to get close enough to almost drag Eva into the freezing water. Daniel, one of Eva's crew, steps in to push the man away and protect her. In the struggle, he hits the survivor too hard and the man dies. Eventually, after putting some distance between themselves and the horror behind them, Eva and the others make it back to shore alive. They know the choice they made was cruel, and they carry a heavy sense of guilt and regret. Still, the supplies they have taken from the wreck are enough to keep the group from starving, and that grim benefit now sits in painful contrast with the price they have paid. Tension inside the group starts to build from here. Everyone begins blaming one another for Ragnar's disappearance the night before, and the atmosphere grows colder than the winter around them. With no clear leader at the helm, Eva decides the group needs someone to guide them. She appoints Daniel as the new helmsman, believing he is the most capable person left for the job. The next morning, the shoreline delivers another shock. 6 bodies from the sunken ship have washed up on the beach. As the group inspects the scene, Aran picks up a necklace from one of the corpses, and Eva tells him to put it back. Before he can do anything, the stomach of the corpse shifts. Something is moving inside. Eva pulls out a knife and cuts it open, revealing several fish that spill out into the snow. After removing the fish, they place the bodies into coffins for a proper burial. In their rush, they forget the traditional rituals they were supposed to perform, including tying the hands, turning the coffin 3 times, and driving a nail into the feet. Helga reminds them that every part of the ritual has a purpose, and skipping them can bring misfortune. While the others return to the cabin, Eva walks to her late husband's gravesite to pray. As she finishes and prepares to head back, she hears a faint noise behind her, something that seems to come from inside one of the coffins. The long walk home through the cold drains the last of her strength, and by the time she reaches the cabin, she is exhausted. Before going inside, she checks the drying racks to make sure no fish were left out. Everything looks normal at first. Then she notices a dark figure standing far off, watching her. Curious and unsettled, Eva moves closer to see what it is. The figure suddenly rises, forcing her to sprint away in panic. When she looks back, the figure has vanished, and Daniel appears, rushing to help her back to the cabin. Daniel tries to reassure her, telling her it was only her mind playing tricks after everything they have been through. He urges her to rest and promises to take charge of the upcoming trip himself. To help her feel safer, he even leaves a weapon in her room and gives her a short explanation of how to use it.
When you're ready.
That night, while everyone else sleeps deeply, Eva wakes from another terrifying dream about the boat incident. She steps outside for some air, only to hear Aaron mumbling in his sleep, repeatedly mentioning the name Droger. She does not know who or what Droger is, but she starts to believe the strange events they have been experiencing are somehow tied to the survivors they were unable to save. Morning arrives and Daniel prepares to resume the trip they previously postponed. After seeing the group off at the shore, Eva returns to the cabin and notices something odd above the door. After asking around, she learns it is a charm. Helga crafted it from pieces of the sunken ship. She made it to ward off evil and any spirits lurking nearby because she has begun sensing something dark in the area. A few days pass, and Daniel and the others finally return with a good haul of fish. It is enough to keep them stocked for several more days, something they have not enjoyed in a long time. One of the men suggests they celebrate, and after everything they have been through, the idea sounds like a relief. So Eva and the remaining crew throw together a small gathering to shake off the stress that has been building for days.
So you drink your fill! Roll, roll, let the wind blow, down this slow and listen cold. Tomorrow's not a friend!
In the middle of the modest celebration, Eva catches sight of that same mysterious figure again. The moment lingers in her mind long after the party ends.
You all right?
When she is about to head to bed, Helga approaches and tells her something unsettling. The charm she made is not strong enough to fend off Draugr. The only way to defeat a creature like that, she says, is with fire. It has to be completely burned. The next morning brings another blow. Their entire food storage is empty, completely stripped clean. No clue who did it. Suspicion falls on Helga simply because she is the only one missing since last night. With no sign of her anywhere, her absence becomes the only lead they have. After a quick discussion, the group decides to search for her, assuming she may have headed toward the town. But as they walk farther from the cabin, Eva notices several dead fish lying along the road. The strange part is that the trail does not lead toward town at all. The path points toward the cemetery. Feeling uneasy, Eva recalls Aaron muttering the name Draugr in his sleep. Sure enough, Håkon spots Helga's charm near the burial grounds. Eva borrows Skuli's knife and begins opening the coffins one by one, hoping to find some clue. Håkon tries to stop her, but she continues, checking each one carefully. The bodies inside look undisturbed until they reach a coffin without nails. When they lift the lid, the corpse inside is gone. No one knows where it went. The sight immediately reminds Eva of Helga's warning about treating the dead properly. So Eva tells Håkon and Skuli to complete every ritual they originally skipped. Maybe, she hopes, doing things the right way will stop whatever is haunting them. Once the rituals are done and the coffins are set back in place, they abandon the search and head home. That night, Eva lies awake, surrounded by a silence that feels heavier than usual. A cold gust of wind pushes her to sit up. Her eyes drift to a dark corner of the room, where she sees a shadowy figure slowly approaching. For a moment, it feels like something is truly there. But before she can react, Aran bursts in and calls her to check on Håkon. Håkon is burning with fever, thrashing like someone possessed by an angry spirit. No one knows if it is Draugr or something else, but whatever has taken hold of him threatens all of them. Suddenly, he lunges at Daniel and starts choking him.
Roger, please! What are you doing, Håkon? Get out! Let go!
Panic explodes through the room. Aaron acts on instinct, striking Håkon hard enough to knock him unconscious. Shaken by the attack, Daniel finally admits something he has been hiding. Ever since the night at the shipwreck, he has been hearing whispers inside the cabin. Daniel had tried to ignore all the strange whispers and shadows at first, but after watching his own brother Håkon nearly take his life, he could no longer pretend it was his imagination. From that moment on, he became convinced something real was haunting them, and he began to fear that Draugr might be coming for him next. He was not the only one shaken. Jonas, another member of the group, openly blamed Eva for everything that had gone wrong. He accused her of refusing to save the survivors and of allowing Helga and Håkon to use their charms. In his mind, those charms were the reason Draugr kept tormenting them. Jonas eventually decides he has his own solution. He believes their suffering is punishment for their sins, so he heads toward the hills alone to perform what he calls an act of repentance. Aaron and the rest of the men choose not to follow him. With their food supplies gone, they stick to the original plan and return to the sea in search of whatever they can catch. Eva stays behind at the cabin, hoping for some peace. Instead, she finds a trail of blood leading behind the door. Moments later, the dark figure she has seen before appears again. Her panic spikes, but before she can react, Skuli and Aran return carrying Daniel, who is badly injured. Skuli explains what happened. Daniel fell into the water and hit the ice after something unseen pulled him down. Both Skuli and Aran saw a shadowy shape moments before it happened. Eva instantly believes it is the same presence Daniel saw near the wreck, a sign that Draugr is deliberately targeting him. With only basic medical supplies, Eva does what she can to treat Daniel's injuries while praying he survives. Skuli admits he also saw the same dark figure, but froze in fear, unsure of what they were facing. While waiting for Daniel to wake up, Eva steps outside to gather water from the melting snow. That is when Jonas returns from his prayers, wanting to apologize for his harsh words. Jonas speaks with Eva, then goes inside to visit Daniel and offer his apology. But the moment Eva follows him, she finds Jonas lying on the floor. Daniel, now consumed by whatever force has taken over him, has stabbed Jonas. He refuses to listen to Eva's desperate attempts to reach him, and instead chooses a horrific way to end his own life.
Help me!
With the group shaken to its core, Eva tries her best to steady the remaining 3 men. Skuli urges them to abandon the island altogether and save themselves, but Eva refuses to leave. To her, running away does not guarantee safety. She believes they must face this haunting head-on, and she remembers Helga's warning. If Draugr is real, there is only one way to stop it. Fire. Burn it completely. Believing the cemetery is the heart of everything haunting them, Eva gathers her late husband's rifle and heads there with the last remaining members of the group. But a thick fog rolls in, swallowing the path ahead. It becomes nearly impossible to see. In that confusion, something uses the moment to strike. Skuli suddenly steps off the edge of a cliff as if pulled or tricked. and vanishes into the drop below. Terrified, Eva climbs down to check on him. She finds Scully already gone, and not far from his body, she discovers another corpse lying stiff in the snow, picked apart by birds. When she looks closer, she realizes it is Helga. The shock hits her like a blow. Helga had been missing for days, and now she lies here alone in the cold. Only Eva, Aaron, and Jonas remain alive. They gather the bodies of their fallen friends and give them a proper burial. None of them want to stay any longer than necessary, so they agree to leave the island at dawn. With no safe shelter left, they spend the night preparing whatever supplies they can carry. While waiting for morning, Eva returns to the cabin to collect a few last things. But as she steps inside, she freezes. A figure begins descending the stairs toward her. It moves slowly, and Eva is convinced it must be Draugr. She panics and hides, not noticing the shard of glass piercing her palm. Even with the pain and fear, she forces herself to stay quiet. When the figure draws close, Eva fires her gun. The creature drops, and she immediately douses the floor with gasoline and sets the entire cabin on fire. Aaron and Jonas rush in, horrified to see their only shelter burning to the ground, and Eva standing there, convinced she has destroyed the evil chasing her. Then comes the twist. Draugr was never real. Everything Eva saw, every shadow and every attack, was a projection of her own trauma. Her guilt over the abandoned survivors had grown so overwhelming that her mind built a monster out of it. The screams, the figures, the fear, all of it came from inside her. She could have saved the survivors, but she chose not to. And that guilt twisted itself into a nightmare she believed was real. When the others realize Eva's mental state has collapsed, Helga, Daniel, Haken, and Scully choose to give up and leave the island for good. Only Aaron and Jonas stay behind. They decide to protect Eva and honor her husband's final wish by continuing the fishworks she was meant to manage. But even after the funeral, something still watches her from a distance. A real figure this time. It turns out to be the lone survivor of the shipwreck, the only one who actually lived. He is the one who stole their food, trying to survive on his own, hiding inside an empty coffin for shelter. Finding the cabin empty, the survivor comes out hoping to ask for the small boat so he can return home. But Eva, consumed by fear and still trapped inside her hallucination, sees him as the creature she invented. In her mind, he is Draugr returning for her. And in that final moment, blinded by guilt and terror, Eva kills the last surviving man, believing she is destroying a monster that never existed. So the moral of the story is, if you skip sleep, skip rituals, skip common sense, and live on a haunted iceberg with zero snacks, your brain will start inventing monsters faster than you can say fish stew.